God has an incredible life for you. But you ain't gonna get there if you give up. You can't get to what God got for you if you stop. You can't get to what God got for you if you're afraid. But the best things in life is on the other side of fear. But one of the things that I've always done to help overcome my fears is I make my dreams bigger than all my fears. God really does want to use you as an example of what he can do. You just got to volunteer. But you got to be willing to go through something to get to it. Success ain't free. They ain't passing out money, man. Anybody sending none to your house. That ain't how this works. You got to go get it. But in order to go get it, you got to want something. You got to have vision boards. You got to have stuff you dream about. You got to have this stuff written down. That being successful is not an accident. You know what I can't stand when I hear Christians say, if it was the Lord's will, I would have had some money by now. No, you can't dump that on God. God's will is that you prosper. That's his will. Now, the fact that you done made some adverse decisions to stop your prosperity train from happening, don't dump that on him. God got a great life for you, man, but you got to want something. You got to want it, you got to write it down. Most people don't have what they want in life because it ain't written down nowhere. You must write the vision and make it plain so that he who reads it will run to it. And even though it tarry, that means take a long time. Wait for it, for surely it will come at an appointed time. That's a scripture. That's a scripture. Say no philosophy. This a fact. What you waiting on? Write it down. Put some faith on it. And then get ready to go to work. Sitting up and you can believe in God all you want, but if you don't work, man, it ain't gonna happen. He told you that though. He said faith without works is dead. I'm just asking you, man, to try something new. If you've tried everything, it ain't worked for you. I'm just asking you, just try writing it down. After you write it down, I want you to put some faith on it. When you put some faith on it, I want you to work for it. Now, you might not want this life. You might not want what it takes to get here. But if you want this life, you got to put in your work. You got to put it in. You got to never give up. You got to talk to God every day. Now, if that ain't what you want to do, then good luck. You keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. I would try something else if I was y'all.
Some people don't want anything much. Most people operate in the area of survival. Now, but there are some people who that just surviving is not enough. I believe that there are three types of people in life. There are winners, there are losers, and there are winners who've not discovered how to win yet. And these individuals, it's something about them that drives them, that they will invest in themselves. They go to seminars and workshops and lectures, and they're seeking, there's something in them that says, I can do better than this. That there are people who would be glad to be where they are and would be happy, but they're not. I was reading a story about George Bernard Shaw, who was a very brilliant man in his day. Somebody asked him, if you had to be anybody in the world, if you had the power to be born again, who would you like to come back as? And without blinking, he said, I'd like to be born as the man I never was. I like to be the man I never was, that I never became. Well, every time I speak, I see this as such a sacred opportunity. Sometimes I think I'm dreaming, because when I look back on my life, this Les Brown that you see was in bondage for so many years. Didn't come out till late in my life. In bondage with fear. I wanted to do what I'm doing. I thought about things I wanted to accomplish, and I held myself back because I was afraid to fail. I was afraid that I would embarrass myself. I was intimidated by people who had college degrees. And so I would think about the things I wanted to do, and then I would start thinking about the fact, Les, you can't do that. You don't have a college education. Les, come on, be logical, be practical. Oh, yes, I know people told you you have a gift of gab and you have a nice personality and you're funny and you make people feel good and you make them laugh, but you become a speaker, train and teach people and motivate people to do something you've never done? You can't do that, Les Brown. See, my heart said I can do that. And then I made a critical mistake. I asked how. The mind became operative and said, Les Brown, I heard what your heart said, but I want to ask you, how will you do that? And so I went from my heart to my mind. At that time, I wanted to earn $1,000 an hour. My mind said, do you make $1,000 a week? I said, no. Have you ever done this before? I said, no. Okay. Have you any contacts with anybody that can teach you how to do this? No. Do you have the money? No. Do you have the credentials? No. Well, let me ask you, do you really think you could do this? No. There's an African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. How many of you ever thought about something you wanted to do? You felt it in your heart, and you talked yourself out of it. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. I talked myself out of it. No one did it to me but me. Sometimes we have to stand up inside ourselves. Sometimes we have to fight ourselves. Sometimes you have a dream and goal that you want to achieve, and you say, oh, I can't do that. You got to tell yourself to shut up. Don't tell me I can't do that. Sometimes you got to talk to yourself. Oh, I can do this. Oh, I will do it. I have got to do this. What you think about your dream? And I want you to increase your dream. I said you have something special. You have greatness in you. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. Greatness, it's a choice. It's not your destiny. Most people, ladies and gentlemen, go to their graves living a life of mediocrity.
So here's one of the key questions of the evening. Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction? What are you going to do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Now see, if you don't do something starting tomorrow that'll make a difference, guess what? It's gonna be the same. And see, that way you can guess what the next 5 years are going to be like. Look at the last 5. Unless you, major key, tomorrow, change it all.
The most important thing that we have a very clear vision of where we go. A goal, where do we go? Because you can have the best ship in the world. You can have the best cruise liner, but if the captain does not know where to go, that ship will drift around the world and out there at sea and will never end up anywhere. And this is exactly the way it is in real life. If you don't have a goal, if you don't have a vision, you just drift around. And you're not going to be happy. This is why it is so important to have that vision,